Welcome to Humans of Business, the podcast where we uncover the human side of successful businesses. Here, we speak with business leaders about the human traits that fuel success and how embracing who we are can shape our business. Every business starts with a human, so let's learn from real humans, one story at a time. My name is Yuri. I help people and brands shine through communities and personal connections. And my guest is Hanna Oeljeschlaeger, a serial entrepreneur and business mentor who has worked in the tech bubble for the past 15 years and lived in over 8 countries across the globe since 2009, and who is still always on the hunt for the best latte macchiato spot in any new city. So, welcome, Hanna.
Hi, nice to be here.
I'm curious, how many spots in different cities you already have?
Oh my gosh. There are definitely cities where it's, I would say, the best coffee. For example, um, flat white, I would say is the best coffee, and that's usually what you get in Spain, Argentina, South America.
Hmm.
You might also get it in Berlin. I don't know, but yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites.
Have you ever been to some country where you couldn't find good coffee?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say the US was quite disappointing. Especially Starbucks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not really good coffee. In the north, they have something called, I forgot the name. They have a more local brand, which is then Seattle's Best. Seattle's Best
Hmm.
coffee, really good. But outside of that, I would say US.
Tell me one thing about you that I can't find on your LinkedIn profile.
Oh my gosh, one thing about me that you can't find on my LinkedIn profile. I would say the reason for so in my profile it looks like very purposely driven in terms of like when I did my bachelor, then I did my year abroad and all that, and it was more kind of a coincidence really. So it was like really one step at a time. In the beginning, I was aiming for an apprenticeship, and then I was I took a year off for an au pair year, and I was like, okay, let's do the bachelor. So it was not really planned. It looks very structured, very planned, but it was really more one step at a time. And if somebody would have told me like 10 years ago, um, the journey, I would have said, yeah, no way, no way in hell.
We wouldn't tell anyone about this. Let people think that it's all
Yeah,
perfect and it was like
exactly. It
totally
was all
planned.
planned.
And
There was,
yeah, that's how it always looks like, when you meet a person and you go
yeah,
see and you see they build successful business and they do all this thing, and you definitely understand that they had it like overnight. It was like just overnight success. That's how we'll call it. So let's stick with this.
I really love this quote. I don't remember where I read it, but there's no successful entrepreneur who knew it from the beginning or who did everything right in the beginning, because that's just not how it works.
How do you feel about making mistakes?
Depending on the mistake. If it's yeah, obviously if it's something with bureaucracy and stuff, then that's a little bit annoying. Um, if it's anything else, I would say it's fine. It's learning and getting back up. It's also the same with bureaucracy, just then it has more consequences sometimes.
I feel like it's more costly usually. So
Yes.
you have to pay, but not just with money, but also with your time and with your nerves.
And
So it's
and
like,
your nerves. I wanted to say nerves. Yes.
so tell me a little about the business you are building at the moment.
Yeah, so I started that business in 2022 as an idea, and then last year I would say I really started. It's mainly focusing on business mentorship for people who have a great idea for a service or a product, but they might not know how to make it visible online. And then I would help them come in and help them with their marketing, their sales strategy, utilizing, for example, automations, but also going a little bit on the more energetic side of things. So, because there has to be a balance, there has to be the strategy and there has to be the mindset behind it in order to be successful. And that's usually the combination that works best. And what I found, just that's why I founded this business, is I had a business in 2016. That was my first business. So I got to know a lot of fellow freelancers and also people with really good ideas. And I just saw some of them get, yeah, no, I don't want to say nowhere, but like they either got distracted or the bureaucracy was too much or something happened or they didn't even try because they felt so scared of all these little things that seemed to so much in the beginning that I thought it's kind of sad that really good ideas never find like their way through. So that's why I started this. Yeah,
What keeps you going?
exactly that. I really like it if someone approaches me with a really good idea that has like some sort of beneficial impact on society, like something. I can't think of an example right now without like really talking too much about the client, but if there's a really good idea that's benefiting society, I really love to help make that happen and make that visible to the right people. Because usually people who have the idea should focus on their core business and not worry about marketing or sales or yeah.
Or everything else,
Yes,
100 other
everything else.
things. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So I saw on your LinkedIn profile that you support founders and true leaders to grow their brands with authenticity and heart. And I kind of know the word authenticity, but I'm curious, what does it mean with heart?
That means that rather I like founders and leaders who really have their heart in it. So like they're really burned for it. Like they have this fire, this idea, and they want to bring it to life, like because of the idea and not because of the money. So there are some, I had some initial conversations with people I usually don't really support in the end. I actually never support in the end. If you just want to become a freelancer or an entrepreneur for the money, for example, or you say, I want to be an entrepreneur and then make a lot of money and then quit. That's not the goal. The goal should be I burn for this idea, this service is needed, this product is something I want to bring to the market. If you exit after a couple of years, fine. But if your exit is your main goal,
Talking about people's energy. So on the previous conversation we had around freelance unlocked, we were talking about how energy is important in addition to a structure. So no matter how great structure you have, if you don't have energy, yeah, it might not work. So if you are finding like meeting a person and they like, hey Hannah, I want to work with you, and they don't have this kind of energy, what do you do?
I mean, that's why I have the initial conversations, not necessarily only for them, but also for me. So there needs to be a fit on both ends. Also, that I'm sure that I can help them, right? Sometimes there is an energy which I just feel is like maybe not mine, but I know another consultant or another business mentor or another coach even who could help this person better. And I have done this before. Like I had initial conversations with people where I felt like, okay, there's another coach and I know this person is, for example, more methodical. They are less on the energy part. They are less on this combination. They are way more methodical, way more, let's build a billionaire business, but only on strategy. And if I feel the person is more in that area, then I'm like, okay, go rather with this person, which helps me in the end because I don't have to deal and they don't have to deal with me because if there's not a match, then it's not going to work.
I had recently a conversation with a friend, and they told me that it was a time when they worked with a client, not because they liked like human part of the client, but because they were really, really interested in the project and excited around the project. So if someone is coming to you with like this very interesting, amazing idea that you like really love to work to, but you just don't know that, I don't know, it's not maybe not the right, you know, when your heart is
Yes.
fighting with your
Yeah.
brain, like what do you do?
Very, very, very tricky. I have fallen for this before. Honestly, not once. I would love to say just once. Um, when you really like the idea and you really like this would be amazing, but with the person you have like kind of an off feeling, I would say don't do it. Unfortunately, I can't say I listen to my own advice all the time, but what I can say is the times I didn't listen, I paid for it.
Oh.
Again, with patience or something. Like something was off. If you have this off feeling, trust it. Even if the project sounds amazing, there is something which is not going to work out in the long run.
I feel like every person need to have a friend with whom you are exchanging advices, and then this friend will remind you your own advice at
Yes.
some moment of the time, because it's so much easier to give people advice, but to
Yeah.
really instead of working on your own advice.
Yes, for sure. And then you're like, oh, this time it's going to be different. Well, it won't, but
Yeah,
fine.
no, most likely not. How do you define success beyond financial metrics?
I would say success is not really a financial metric to start with. I think financial success comes when the rest kicks in. So it's rather a byproduct, as I see it, the real financial success, not the one where you like struggle every day, but the real financial success where, like people say, it just flows in and it just flows naturally. It comes when you follow your passion. And that sounds very um, spiritual and that sounds very vague, I know, but it's if you really follow your passion and if you really believe in yourself, then this combination of like your skill set, your passion, and that you believe in yourself, that's where you end up with success. And then the money follows.
How do you think this? Let's dive a little deeper into this financial part. How do you think financial part is connected with the energy? Let's dive into a more spiritual thing.
How financial situations are connected to energy. That's interesting. I was recently, that's curious that you are saying that because I was recently thinking about that. I mean, I don't have the perfect answer, um, but I would say there's always something, if it's not flowing, then there's always another reason behind it. Like it's never what you see on the outside, it's never what you see on the surface. It's usually, especially if a pattern is repeating itself, like for example, you have a specific struggle and it's just popping up again and again and again in similar context, then usually the reason is something completely different.
I
And then it's
recently
about looking deeper.
I recently read in the book the part that sometimes when people are stuck, they just see only one road, only one path, and they are not searching for other paths because this uncertainty of searching other is even more scary to people than being stuck. So I'm curious, if you feel stuck, what do you do?
I try exactly that. Like I try to look at different perspectives, but more I try to ask myself, is this a repeating pattern? And if I see somehow that it is, then I'm trying to look behind it and I'm trying to see what might actually be behind it. Sometimes that's through a meditation, sometimes that's just one thing that's really helpful is I just try to ask myself and then the answer comes up. That's something I really like. It's a method I read about in The Secret. I don't know
Hmm.
if you know the book.
No, not yet, but I will
Okay.
definitely ask the author also.
It's a really amazing book. And I tried this method once because I was like, oh, let's just try it, but it's really helping. So like if I don't know where to start, then I'm like, okay, there might be a problem behind it, but I don't even know where to start because you might not even have an idea. Then I'm like, okay, I'm open. Show me where to start. And then just wait either a couple days, couple hours. Don't think about like it doesn't, don't expect it to happen in 5 minutes. But over the next couple of days, usually it's not gonna take weeks for you to like somehow get a hint. And
Hmm.
then the curious part comes where it's tricky, like then really look at it. Because sometimes what you see or what you learn might not be what you really want to see or learn about yourself.
Hmm. No, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I really like thinking about human's mind and how it
Hmm.
works. And, we have this conscious and unconscious part. And many of the things that we are doing and many of the ideas that coming up to our mind, it's basically part of the unconscious mind. And
Yes.
sometimes it works that way. Like, why do people find their ideas in the shower or while on the walk
Yes.
or in the middle of the night? Because like you are not focusing, and sometimes it's so much easier to get stuck when you are really
Yeah.
working on something instead
Yes.
of like kind of like okay, my brain. So I like to your point, I also have this practice that I'm trying, that if I stuck somewhere, I'm like, brain, please work on it, I'll do something else. So
Exactly.
it's kind of like delegating to the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And but I also feel like if you have this knowledge somewhere inside, it will come. But
Yeah.
if don't
You can't be like, I want it now, then that's
Yeah.
not gonna, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I know that you are try to keep an open mind. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, how do you do that?
How do I do that? Um, I would say that I'm generally curious about different perspectives. Um, I definitely have my own ideas and I definitely have my own also beliefs and also ways of doing things and things I believe in and all that, like set things like everybody does. But on the other hand, I'm always curious also if I see, okay, somebody does something differently or somebody has a completely different mindset, then usually I really like the conversation, especially if that person has good arguments. I love a good argument because that's sometimes I even get convinced then. Like it depends. It depends on the arguments, but yeah, you can always learn something, right? And even if in the end you're like, okay, I'm still on my part, then you still learn something.
How long does it take for you to change your mind?
It depends on the situation, depends on the topic, depends on the strength of the belief, and the proof I have for in my own life for like what I'm thinking and am convinced about being true.
So can you recall some kind of a situation where you had like a strong opinion about something and then you changed it because of something?
I would say the whole discussion about human design, really.
Hmm.
That just comes to mind. I came across the human design and astrology in general, I want to say, also like angel numbers and everything in 2020 by a friend by coincidence in Portugal. And at that time, I was like, yeah, that's like your business. And like, that's if you believe in it, fine. And like, I was more like thinking, okay, this is woohoo. And this is like, yeah, nothing for me. She went on with it. She like offered me to I could join her and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna join. But since we shared a room, I kind of noticed some stuff. Like I remembered some angel numbers and I saw that she went out to meditate in the morning at the ocean and that she felt great afterwards. So that kind of stuck a little bit. And then it took, I think I would say 2 more years to really get a little bit more into it. And also try out the human design, for example. I tried it out in 2022. And I was really surprised by the result. I read it and I was like, this is me, this is crazy. And then I was like, okay, wait, let's go further into this. And then I started with Joe Dispenza,
Hmm. Hmm.
because I still needed the balance. Like I needed the balance of scientific proof and spirituality, just to, I want to say, get over the edge and to have something to grab onto. Yeah.
Yeah, you always have to try something. You
Yeah.
have something to touch because otherwise it's
Yes.
really hard to believe. Even though it looks like true, it's still hard to touch. But I'm curious, what is something that you learned about yourself because of human design and started doing maybe another way or more effective way?
I want to say what really opened my eyes was one sentence is I'm a projector
Hmm.
and projectors have to wait. So you have four types, right? And then you
Yeah.
have also numbers connected to it. So it's not only four types, but you have also numbers connected to it. But the projector has to wait for an invitation. And that was something I'm one, not really good at. Like if I see something and I see, for example, potential in a person or like potential in an opportunity or potential in somewhere where like this could be helping someone or this could be done so much better or this could be done so much easier, then it's really hard for me to not start right away, but wait for the invitation.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, this sentence, when I really applied it, I was like, this works way better because then the person is ready. At the stage where I see it, the person might not even be halfway ready to apply anything.
No, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I also I just slipped out of my mind what type I am, but I remember it's something with a manifestating. Ah, okay, manifestating generator or something like that. And it's
Manifesting
interesting.
generator.
Yeah, exactly. And I also learned at this moment about myself that I thrive more when I'm kind of like responding. When people are like, come, hey, Yuri, we really want to work with you. Like here, or here is a challenge I'm dealing with. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Instead of kind of like coming to a person like, what is your challenge? Like, how can we work together? How can I help you? So, and I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe it works so much better when I'm just kind of waiting for an request and then working with it. But I feel like also it's like, this double-edged situation because at some point it's so really to procrastinate while waiting for others to kind of like come to you and do nothing. So it's always kind of like trying to find the balance, in kind of like doing and waiting.
Yeah, I mean, as I would understand it, it's not about not doing anything in that time. Really, you can still go out there with your offer and your personality and your authenticity and say, like, this is here, this is who I want to help, this is what I'm gonna do. And then have the people come. Like, it doesn't mean you cannot get out. You should be visible because how should they otherwise know?
Yeah, I feel like it's the best, quote for every freelancer, entrepreneur, solopreneur, and business person. Like, you should be visible, otherwise, how people know that you exist.
Yeah, exactly. Especially nowadays with like all these different channels. And maybe also that's another thing, like not go on all the channels, but find a channel that you really, really like personally and don't force yourself. Like I have friends who hate LinkedIn, but who love Instagram. Me, I'm
Mm.
more the other way around when it comes to business, I want to say. So find the channel you like and don't be all everywhere.
How do you push through moments of self-doubt?
I try not to push through them. So like that's usually that's only days, not longer than that, or sometimes even just hours. I try to look for the reason behind it, like why does it happen at that point, to like maybe there is something I can learn from it. And if there's nothing at that point, then I just like sometimes that's after a very busy season, like after a very busy um, couple of days or weeks, that happens. And I think then it's just an invitation to maybe take a day to
Mm.
relax for half a day.
That's how you know that it's time to really
Yes,
recharge your batteries. By the way,
yes.
how do you recharge your batteries?
That depends. That really depends how what I'm exhausted from. And if I'm exhausted or just tired from laptop work or like really also physically exhausted, like if it's just laptop work, let's say that, then I would say exercise in some way, depending on my mood. Like either I love piloxing. I don't know if you
Mm.
know piloxing.
Yeah, I feel like I know, but you can tell me more.
It's a mix of Pilates and
Okay.
boxing, and it's a
Okay. No, I
perfect
didn't. I didn't
combination.
know. Yeah, I
It's
didn't
a
know that.
perfect combination because you have the boxing elements and then you have the more slower elements where you one can catch your breath and two.
I can imagine that you're going to the ring, you are like fighting boxing, and like another round, you're just sitting and meditate,
Yes,
and then you're coming back.
it's perfect.
Are you familiar with Wim Hof and this Iceman and
No.
his breathing technique? So he has this breathing technique, and I also recently read it in another book. It's called like Tumno in some other parts. So the idea is that you kind of like do 30 fast inhales and like full inhales and like small exhale, and then on the 30 or 40th one you kind of like hold your breath and like take for as long as you can. Then you like do the full inhale, hold it for 15 seconds, and then you repeat the same thing like 2 or 3 more times. And it's kind of like getting more oxygen into your body, and also like you are coming into kind of a stress situation, because like when people are breathing faster, it usually stress hits them, but you
Mm-hmm.
are kind of like learning to deal with stress in that way. So you're kind of like doing this controlled stress, and then you are like coming down, and like it's coming like to the peak and to the like lowest part of this breathing. It's gonna help you to relax. So I feel like it's very similar with what you explained, because you're doing some activities and you relax and you're
Yeah,
doing like some like going back and forth.
sounds similar. Yeah. No, I haven't heard of that, but yeah, sounds very similar. Maybe there's just like different workouts and different things to reach the very same point.
What part do you like the most, of Pilates or boxing?
Both. I really like that it's combined. It's not really either or. Sometimes I hate the Pilates figures, to be honest, because they are so flexible. Sometimes you're like, I just cannot bend this way, but yeah.
How do you approach meeting new people?
I would say that comes back to just being open and just I would say I'm not the loudest one in the beginning, but I'm more trying to catch the atmosphere when I enter the room and then see like yeah, yeah, see what's going on and then everything happens from there. Like I usually what I really believe is that if you go into any situation, like for example, if I go to a conference or if I go into a business meeting or if I go even for fun, if I go into a room and there are 20 people at a party, you will always like if you take the time, you go into the right places, you go to meet the right people. If you just go in and jump, then you might miss your chance.
When you're in such kind of a setting, you are like observing and seeing what's going on inside, like, and who will be a topic starter? I mean, like, who will start a conversation? Will it be you or someone coming to you?
Depends. I would say that depends on if there's, for example, if it's, for example, a business meeting and somebody just said something really interesting and then we might get a coffee break, then I definitely would approach the person and be like, hey, this was interesting. Let's go further into it. Or even at a party or something similar. So if there's something interesting or just something interesting about a person, I definitely, yeah, would say I could approach the person. Sometimes, yeah, and sometimes I also just don't feel like it. And then I'm like, okay, let's just wait here for like half an hour and see how this unfolds and see what happens.
If you are having a really good conversation and you like clicked with the person and you are in the same vibe, and then at some
Yeah.
moment this person asks you to do something like you don't want to, like, oh, by the way, can you like give me a free consultation, or can you like help me with my project, can I pick your brain for a moment, and you really know that you don't have time for that. You really want to help this person, but you don't have time for that. So if you will help them, most likely you will lose something else. So I'm curious, how do you know when and how to say no?
In that situation, which you just described, it's very tricky, especially if then I notice at the same time that it's a really good idea. Like, and if I feel like the idea could benefit in long run, like even more people, like the society as a whole, for example, I would say then it's very hard to say no, and I don't think then I could say no. If it's a topic where it's again where I just feel they want to do it for the money and they don't want to do it for the right reasons, then it's easier to say no.
How do you deal with procrastination?
Mm, depending depending how long it takes. If it's just
Usually it takes forever. Usually it's like it's always there and like it's like daily fight.
really,
Yeah, sometimes it is, especially
yeah,
when you are doing some routine, at least for me, when I'm doing
yeah,
routine tasks, definitely when I'm in the conversation as we are having right now, I can go forever. It's like, it's never a part of procrastination. But if
exactly.
it's like, let's say, preparing the conversation afterwards and posting out on the social media and preparing all the materials, it's kind of like, I still know what has to be done, but I'm like, yeah, is there anything like more interesting I can do at the moment?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I get that. I have that with other topics as well, like accounting, for example.
You still
Not
need have to be done, but it's like always like,
it's something that could be done. Yes. Um, I have a calendar with like 6 colors.
yeah, okay.
6 different colors that exactly help me a little bit with that. It's yellow, meaning it should be done. Orange meaning it should be done soon, and red meaning now do it.
How much red do you usually have on your calendar, on your weekly calendar?
It depends on the week. Sometimes a lot, sometimes even just 2 or 3 a week. It really depends on the week. Um, and also, of course, the color can move. Like with for example, with my accounting stuff, in the beginning it's yellow, and then once it turns orange red, I know like okay, then now is like something is burning.
If you didn't need to work for a living, what would you do?
I think I would still do yeah, I would definitely still do what I'm doing. Maybe on a larger scale. Yeah, on a larger scale, and I would like to incorporate a little bit more of graphic design. Like I used to do graphic design as an intern a couple times, actually 3 internships, and then I dropped it. And I never really, I still do it on the side, like as for fun, but not, I think I would include it way more.
I feel like sometimes what you are doing for fun may at some point become one of the main
Yeah.
things that, because I have this database, like my personal, but I really plan to start working on this and connecting people. So I ask people like 5 questions, like what do you do? Like who would you like to connect with? Like what are you passionate about? And the last one is like, what would you do if you didn't have to work? And it's always something like this part is always bigger than all the previous parts. And I feel like every person, they really know where their passion lies,
Yes.
but they do really small steps into that part because like they have to work, they have mortgages, they have blah, 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 etc., no time. And it's always like about like thinking, maybe I will strive more in this part. So it's always interesting, to know more about this human side.
And it's usually something you started doing as a kid or as a teenager, and then real life happened, and
Yeah,
somebody
exactly.
taught you out of it. Talked you out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like we all need to go and check out our children hobbies and
That's
see
exactly, yeah.
what was your children hobby.
Coloring. Like I really did a lot of anything. Like I even had my own, I don't know the English word, like if you have an own, like a
Mm-hmm.
huge board with like watercolors and all different sort of, yeah.
It sounds like no wonder that you have like 6 colors on your calendar. So it's kind of like coming
That,
from there.
that might be making up for it.
Okay, Hannah, I wish to have the sky as the limit, but time is the limit to our
Yes.
conversation. So the final question: what is one thing that you are really good at that no one knows that you are really good at?
Oof, that's a very tricky question. No one knows that I'm really good at it. Hmm. Mm, I'm not sure.
Like,
Um, um, I would say I notice pretty quickly the energy in a room.
hmm.
So not like within a minute, but for sure like after a couple minutes. And then like that's also why I said earlier that if you enter a room, like first see and then.
I feel like it's really helpful skill to
Yes,
understand like what's going on
exactly.
almost right away.
And then it's about like following through like the gut feeling we talked about in the beginning,
And
which
it's
is not
good.
always as easy, but yeah.
It's never easy. It's always like fight with your gut and your brain and like
Yeah.
should I
Yeah.
do that? Should I do that? And then like,
Yeah.
and what is the best way to connect with you?
I would say it's LinkedIn. It can also be Instagram, but rather LinkedIn. Yeah.
Last but not least, name 2 people I should have this podcast conversation with.
2 people. I would say one thing that comes to mind is Julia Hellmund. And the second person, I'm not sure if she's going to be up for it, but Anna Schipperle.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk to them. I'll talk to them and like then
Yes.
it's so when we started our conversation at the freelance unlocked interview, speakers
Mhm.
interview, I was curious to get to know even more of your approach because
Mhm.
I really love how you talk about human connections, how you talk about energy, and I think that it's very important part of being just a good human. I'm not even talking about like a good
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Like I feel like when you are being a good human, then it comes. And
Yeah.
I was very curious to continue this conversation, and I'm still having this curiosity, even though you kind of like allowed me to get to know a little more about you. But I still have
Yeah.
this curiosity. So, thank you so much for this amazing conversation, and I believe we'll definitely talk more.
Yeah. Definitely. Would be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and yeah, see you in the business world.
Yes. See you.
And thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about how the community can help you reach and overcome your business goals faster, let's connect on LinkedIn and talk about it. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.